A game of tag. Winter bites into my face. I step outside expecting rain, but I step out onto the ice of a frozen pond. A snow-peaked forest billows and creaks in the chilly wind. A blanket of unbroken blizzard pushes in from every side. The time on my phone hasn't changed, but the date has. February 21st, 1986. A sniffling child emerges from the tree line, hanging his head as he shuffles through the drifts. I recall this lonely midnight walk. I was 7, the same age my son is today. The boy reaches out with one of his feet and tests the ice. "Hey, kid," I say, "you don't want to do that." He walks out onto the pond, gaining courage with each step. God, I was never very bright, was I? I move toward the boy, feeling the ice crackle under my feet. If Noah ever snuck out of the house and took a stroll on thin ice like this, I'd skin him alive. I'd had no plans of running away from home, but I had no plans of ever returning either. The tensions of a crumbling family, of mounting insult and constant conflict, had driven me to find solace where and when I could, which this night meant sobbing in the snow. I was so determined to get away, I'd barely remembered to grab my coat before I sealed the door behind me. "Look," I say, still shuffling toward my younger self. "This is a really bad idea. A kid drowned in this pond a few months ago, and that was in the middle of summer. This ice breaks, and you fall in, which, trust me, is exactly what's going to happen. You aren't going to have a good fucking time. I can tell you that." In truth, I almost died, and I remember taking great satisfaction in the attention my illness initially brought me. I may have been miserable and bedlocked for weeks, but for a moment in time my parents found mutual interest in nursing me back to health. Of course, that soon became finger-pointing. Who was to blame for my leaving in the first place? The inattentive father with the drinking problem, or the enabling mother who always took his side? As I inch my way close enough to reach for the boy, a snowball appears. Without warning, I'm struck in the ear. I hear a man laughing, a throaty, "Oh, ho, ho, ho." He has a snowy beard and a floppy red hat atop his bald head. He wears a velvet suit with fur cuffs and collar, a thick leather belt, and black boots squishing in the snow. It's Santa Claus in all his holly-jolly glory. His fat belly jiggles, his eyes twinkle, and in the merriest voice I've ever heard in my life, he says, "Hey there, motherfucker!" I'm still processing this when the second snowball hits me across the bridge of my nose. Santa puts his hands on his hips like he's inspecting his team of reindeer and asks, "Have you been drinking tonight?" I slip on the ice, and my words come out in a jumble. "Hypothermically speaking, if that ice broke right now, do you think you'd be sober enough to swim ashore?" The third snowball hits just as the round man announces it. "Incoming!" This last volley brings the fight out in me. I don't care if he is Saint Nick. I'm going to kick his ass. Cracks echo across the night sky, and I feel the ice give way beneath me. The boy must feel it too, because he yelps in surprise as we both tumble into the freezing water. The complete submersion is enough to shock me sober. I watch the boy as mortality suddenly becomes a tangible possibility for him. He scrambles and sputters, groping for salvation. "Help me," he says, knowing there isn't anyone close enough to hear him. "Please." His lips turn blue, his teeth chatter, his hands cling to the ice shards floating at the surface. I'm stuck in the muddy bottom and can't move. Turning toward the man on the shore, I implore him to do something for the boy. "Don't just stand there. Help him." "I can't," Santa says, a tinge of guilt in his voice. "Neither of us can. What happens here has already occurred." We're both filled with relief when the boy discovers the water is shallow enough to stand in. He pushes himself up onto the ice and begins to make his way to shore. "I knew he could do it," Santa says. "I mean, if you're still alive, then he couldn't die, right?" I growl, pulling my feet free. I'm losing my damn mind. "Your mind isn't what I'd be worried about damning here, Paul." I slog my way toward him, rage boiling up within my shivering body. "What did you just say?" He throws up his hands and lets out a tremendous laugh.
Now we're getting into the spirit.
Wiping my muddy face with my muddy hands, I step out of the water. My clothes are caked in bog. I look like I've just crawled out of my grave. Tell me what's going on. Santa backs away from me, turning toward the trees.
It's going to be a busy night. If you want to talk, you're going to have to catch up.
My shoulder throbs. Pain stabs me in the small of my back, slowing me, but I reach deep and follow Santa into the wood. As soon as I step through the trees, things change. Night becomes day, and the sun shines hotly on me. The snow is gone, replaced with patches of soft grass. We're still in the forest, but it's suddenly summertime. I chase Santa, who takes off as soon as he sees me. Shouting over his shoulder, he asks,
When you were a little tot at the playground, did you ever see a passing car and imagine the person driving by was you from the future?
He ducks under a thorny branch with ease. I avoid the branch too, but I almost fall on my face.
And that still clear voice in your head telling you not to touch the hot kettle, did you ever imagine it was your ancestors passing on what they learned while they were alive?
I strain to catch my breath. Slow down! He leaps over a fallen tree like one of his reindeer. I, however, must come to a complete stop, step onto the trunk, and hop down.
What about deja vu? Do you ever swear you're reliving the same moment in time, and if you could just remember what comes next, you could make the right choice?
I lurch forward to hear those last words. Santa's gained a large lead and disappears into a thick grove. Something quickly approaches, whooshing past me. 3 children on bicycles speedily pedal away. I shout after them,
Chris! Jen!
I'm winded, panting, and sore. I feel old, bewildered, and profoundly out of options. Head spinning, I watch as the youthful cyclists disappear further down the trail. I shake my head in disbelief of what I'm about to do, and then I trot into the grove and chase after Santa Claus.